afternoon, everybody. It's Claudia at Rochills. I hope we're well and all had a lovely weekend. Hopefully a lot of successful Christmas shopping done. So thank you for joining me today. Today marks the 9th live of our Christmas top 12 tips for selling your home. If you have just joined us, welcome. There are 8 more tips previous to today's live. What you might find helpful is if you tuned in on Friday, you'll have seen we consolidated last week's tips. So if you missed out on last week's, go and check out Fridays and you can play catch up. So what I'll be talking about in today's are open houses, and that's the pros, the cons, and what it takes to make an open house as successful as possible. So before I get carried away again, if this is your first live with us, if you're interested, if you know anybody else who's interested in today's subjects, someone who's maybe thinking of selling and maybe using the open house approach, invite them to the session right now. They'll get a notification, they can join us and hopefully join us with some questions that they might have as well. Or just by tagging their names, they can catch up when they're free and we'll still look out for those questions. So yeah, on the topic of questions, I'll be keeping an eye out for those at the end of today's session as well. Myself and Craig enjoyed the engagement, the questions we had on during Friday's session as well. So yeah, be sure to share your questions as well. So what are open houses? Layman's term, it's simply a set date and time for potential buyers to view your property. And the advantages of an open house are really for the seller. So any disruptions of viewings are reduced to one day, and there's no need to prepare the home for every single day to allow for viewings. And this can either be, in our experience, for business or for personal reasons. We've had situations in the past where the seller or the sellers may be busy during the week, i.e. they work from home or they have little ones at home most days, and they can't allow for viewings daily and at various times as well. So essentially all interested parties are booked in within a short period of time. And what's good about it is it creates what's called compression selling if it's done properly. Now, compression selling is essentially creating more interest from potential buyers, and natural human instinct is it makes people want what other people want, and that's what forms compression selling when it comes to open houses. The disadvantages are mainly for the buyer. If they can't attend, the disadvantage is they can't attend that day at a certain time. And then for the seller, they could be missing out on potential buyers, missing out on applicants who just simply cannot make that day or that date or that time. And as well as that, some people who are able to proceed may want to or may need to make a decision before the open house. And again, the seller loses out on good, proceedable buyers. The other disadvantage to the seller is that the price set has to be enticing. We call it a disadvantage, but it's just preparing them psychologically that the price that you set really has to be enticing for an open house to be successful. And this is what we call the top-down, bottom-up pricing strategy, and it's where the price is set to create higher levels of interest, and this naturally results in driving the price up when we have more than one buyer bidding on your property. So this essentially, as I say, does mean a different pricing strategy, which isn't always what the sellers want to market their properties at, but it all comes down to the strategy to drive more interest, to then achieve the best possible price for that property in doing so. I think the best way to think about it is it's like an auction. A similar process in that they create an open day. They will typically price the properties at 5 to 10% lower than what they're looking to achieve, or lower than the market value. And this is because it's a strategy to create compression selling, to reach the price level that they want to achieve, and often can even exceed that. So before you have an open house, just understand that it does require a different strategy and approach to your property's marketing, and that it's successful when it's generated a lot of interest. Now, a good agent will be able to plan the lead up to the open house with the right marketing strategy to entice as many buyers for that day as possible. So the other thing is, I think, to mention is be mindful that open houses can work, and it does work with certain property types. Again, your agent will talk to you about that as well. So what we do is we have a way of getting people in at a certain time to create the compression selling by using every marketing element available to drive the numbers up for that day, to ensure that it's a success for the client and to achieve the best price possible within that time frame for that client. So if you're thinking of using the open house approach, make sure the agent shares their marketing strategy on ensuring that the event is as successful as possible. So yeah, that's the surmise of open houses. They're great. If you want more free property advice outside of what we've just discussed today, or if you've been following the series so far, there are loads of articles, videos, blogs, all in the Walton on Thames property community group on Facebook. It's definitely worth joining. I'll put the link in below for you as well. Hit join. If you don't see it on the group, we have loads of free advice on the website as well. And that could be if you're an investor, you're thinking of becoming a landlord, you're thinking of selling, and there's advice there for buyers and tenants as well. And that's rochills.co.uk/free help and advice. But equally, if you do want more one-to-one advice, we can talk about, perhaps your property, checking that it is the right property type for an open house, or just to discuss anything else property related. You can direct message myself or anyone else that you might have on Facebook, or you can call the office as well on 01932 22 21 20. But yeah, I hope you found this useful. I hope you found it helpful. If you know anyone who might need to see this, please tag them or share this video. And if, like I say, if you want to keep on top of local property market trends, head over to the Walton Property Community Group, or suggest someone to join it if you think that they might find it helpful. And just on a separate note, we have number 29 of the top 30 most saleable roads in Walton on Thames. That went out this morning. If you haven't seen it yet, go and have a look. Might be your road. And there's some really interesting stats in there as to what makes it number 29 of the most saleable roads in Walton on Thames, and we'll be counting down from 30 right down to number 1. So keep an eye out for that. That's also in the group, Walton Property Community Group. But yes, I hope you found this useful. I will see you tomorrow for tip 10 of the series. And if there's any questions, actually, I haven't seen any coming through so far. None at the moment. We'll keep an eye out for those, and I'll answer them when I see them coming through. And I'll see you tomorrow for tip 10. Have a good evening.